people that I'm very happy to be aligned with them. We're talking about the Krio Descendants. Yes. And our theme is acknowledging the legacies of our past generations, the Creole history. As I explained earlier, I am Creole from my mother's side. My grandmother was a Miss Elliot, and she was Sierra Leonean. But here, I have full Sierra Leoneans with me, so I dare not pretend to know what they know. And leading the pack, I should say, the Creole pack today, is our beautiful, wonderful Iyamide Thomas, who, of course, you know very well. In fact, the microphones and the cameras know her so well because of what she does. She is the regional care manager for the Sickle Cell Society of UK. Iyamide, you're welcome. Nice to have you with us. And with her today, we have two lovely gentlemen, Mr. Ajotie Morgan. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Ajotie sounds Nigerian, but we'll talk about that. And as you can see, he's looking very dapper, kitted out like, English gentry of yore. And he'll also let us know why he does dress that way. And again, to my very left, or to Iyamide's left, is Mr. Nigel Davies. Nice to have you, Nigel. Nigel is not only a proud Creole young man, but he's a historian. He's got a head full of information. And we all know that information is what? Power. So you're all welcome. Thank you so much for coming. First of all, Iyamide, this goes straight to yourself. We know you, but I'd like to know, what is your role here today, apart from being via the sickle cell, that we all, because you're dressed in the Creole fashion.
Exactly.
And then we'll get to know Ajotie and Nigel.
Okay, since the last time I appeared on your show with two other men, I am now...
You're always between men, aren't you?
You said it, not me. Well, basically, the show today has a sickle cell strand to it, because what we're going to do today is talk about the real discoverer of sickle cell.
Yes.
And the heritage of the man that discovered sickle cell, that first wrote about sickle cell, long before it was...
Anybody else?
Before the West.
Knew
the
about
Western
it.
discovery in 1910 and discovery in inverted...
Thank you so much. So let's start with Nigel. Who is Nigel? What's your background and why are you here? What's your link with the Creole?
Well, I'm a history student at Queen Mary University, London, the final year. And
hello. I need a high five for that. Yeah.
And I've been researching the Creole history for about, since I was about 15, 13, kind of a couple of years now. I've just been looking at it. Yes. I started with my grandparents and parents, and that kind of just kicked off from there. So. Fantastic.
And to my immediate left here.
I'm Martin Ajotie Morgan.
We left out the Martin.
yeah, that's right. I'm in charge of artifacts and documents and stuff like, what should I say? I'm a Creole ambassador.
Everything.
KDU ambassador, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Everything, because I see you brought a few things to show us. Yes. And why do you dress this way?
Well, it's part of my heritage, my history, my background. And my parents, my dad and my granddad, just like that all the time.
Really?
This is my code, yes. It's something that's been in my family for many, many years. And that's the way I dress.
Do you think your children would also continue?
Well, I hope so, because I've got a son. I hope so. I'm trying to train him to bring him up like that. I hope he
does.
He does.
Also turn out very dapper. You look very dapper,
yes,
by the way.
Yeah,
not that you don't look nice, Nigel, but you're a young people. Young people wear T-shirts and stuff like that. So now back to some serious stuff now. Okay, Iyamide, a little research I did after talking to you. Obviously, over the years we've been talking about this our Creole link, for a few years now, and a little research I did, about Creole, showed me, or I discovered that there's a man by the name Africanus Horton, and the things he did, the education he had at the time, and there's a lot of stuff that people don't really know. So could you just throw a bit of light on that for us?
Okay, the full name of that man is James Africanus Horton. He took the name Africanus after he wanted to really
show them that
African
I'm an African.
heritage.
Okay.
He was born in 1835. Now, I hope I'm getting my dates right. He was born in 1835.
We've got the historian
oh,
there.
right. So, yeah, that's right. I got my own historian. Right. He was born in 1835, was the first African graduate of Edinburgh University, and that university has a plaque to commemorate that he was the first African graduate of the University of Edinburgh. He was a doctor, he was a
scientist,
in the army, he was a scientist. This man thought about
researcher,
independence long before, we got independence.
He was a social activist.
He was everything, to be honest. And his link to the Creoles is that he descended from Igbo recaptive, now, who was resettled in
Sierra Leone.
So Nigel will tell you the history of the Creoles, but this Africanus Horton was the first to write about sickle cell. It's just that he didn't call it that, but he described all the symptoms that were the hallmark of sickle cell in a book he wrote in 1874. Now, this is well over 30 years before the 1910
discovery.
Yes.
So what did he call it then?
Well, I'm not sure what he called it because nobody can see this book, but it's obvious he was describing sickle cell, that it was a blood condition, that it
and
changed
how
with
the blood cells were and
everything. Yes. So, and I mean, this book, I am going to try and get hold of that book. It was printed in 1874, but the printers, I mean, I don't know if
we need to find it. If there's anybody out there watching,
it was called
you never know.
Diseases of Tropical Climes or something.
We need to find it because that's part of our.
Part of
I'm now claiming Creole. That's part of our heritage, I'm proudly Creole today. Fantastic. Now, could I spin this to our young historian? Maybe you can throw more light onto, of course, Africanus, but also the Creole. Who are we, Creole? Well, mind you, I'm saying we, okay?
Yeah, so
I'm Creole.
We will bring her into
Well, the Creole started in 1787. Essentially, what you had was the first settlement of blacks from Britain that was settled in 1787 and founded the province of Freedom. And that colony lasted until about 1789. And then later on, you had a second settlement that was established, which is Freetown, by the Nova Scotian settlers. Soon after, about 8 years after they came, you had the Maroons. And then 8 years after they came, you had the recaptives. Now, this is kind of what we're talking about with Africanus Horton. And they were made up of different groups, the Yoruba, Igbo, different groups. It was just different tribes, various tribes across West Africa. And so that's kind of how Creole started. And by 1870, these groups began to kind of intermarry. They were all British subjects. They went to grammar schools, and some of them were educated in England. So that's kind of how the group just kind of started and formed. By 1870, we really had this kind of coalescence and community that began to exist.
Fantastic.
So they were all descendants of freed slaves, from all these various areas. And we have towns and places in Sierra Leone named after slaves from Congo. We have a Congo town. He mentioned the Maroons from Jamaica. We have a Maroon town, Maroon church, all this sort of thing. The legacy.
And of course, we've got the Yorubas. The Igbos.
Yes.
I have to put that in,
True.
Now,